Are you ready to dive into the most stomach-turning moments in horror movie history? Yeah, me neither. Get ready for some seriously grotesque scenes that will make you squirm in your seat. Body horror has always been a staple of the horror movie genre, pushing the boundaries of what we find unsettling and repulsive. It's the kind of horror that gets under your skin, sometimes literally. But as gross as these moments are, we can't seem to look away. So I'm counting down my favorite body horror moments in horror movie history. These are moments that made me feel like I might puke in my popcorn bucket. And maybe this is obvious, but spoiler warning ahead for these movies. They're listed at the bottom of the description if you want to just take a peek ahead and make sure you don't get spoiled for anything. So first up is the leg shaving scene from Cabin Fever. Cabin Fever revolves around a group of college students whose vacation in a remote cabin becomes a nightmare when they are infected by a flesh-eating virus, leading to gruesome and chaotic consequences. The whole movie is a scarily realistic body horror flick. I think anything that has to do with like infection, bacteria, viruses work so well because they don't feel that far out of the realm of what could actually happen, especially after experiencing a pandemic, which is still ongoing. And the scene I'm talking about in Cabin Fever is kind of a subtle moment, but it's just so eerie when you watch it. So the character Marcy is in the bathtub shaving her legs and her skin starts to come off as she's shaving. Like I said, it's a subtle moment that shows that Marcy is now one of the infected. So gruesome. And I had to add it in here because it's a little personal for me. Without getting into the whole story, I did have a leg shaving accident that involved me taking off like a good amount of skin on my shin. So that moment always makes my stomach turn because bad memories. Next on my list is the tongue splitting scene from Evil Dead. Evil Dead portrays a group of friends who unleash a demonic presence while staying in a remote cabin, leading to a harrowing battle for survival against relentless evil forces. Obviously, I'm talking about the remake to the classic horror movie, The Evil Dead. There's tons of gore in this movie and plenty of excellent examples of body horror throughout. But to me, the tongue splitting scene just stands out. In this scene, a possessed Mia has Natalie trapped in the cellar. Mia takes the box cutter that Natalie was using as defense and licks the blade, cutting her tongue in half before laying a bloody smooch on Natalie. This is made even crazier, I think, because in like the body modification community, that is not an uncommon body modification. There are people that get that body modification intentionally, but I doubt they accomplish it by licking the blade of a box cutter. And that completes the semi-normal ones on my list. Next is Gabriel's debut from Malignant. Malignant centers around a woman plagued by horrifying visions that lead her to uncover a connection to a sinister entity with a shocking and twisted origin. So the movie expertly hides the who, the why, the how of what Gabriel is until almost the end of the movie. It's not until the movie is getting close to the end when Madison is in jail and the other inmates in there with her start provoking her, which leads Gabriel to make his presence known. And to do this, he literally bursts forth from Madison's skull, like pulling back her skin and bones to reveal the gore that is his face. It is an incredible moment in a batshit crazy movie that I love so much, but I had to scoop my jaw up from the floor during this scene. And we can't forget the classic body horror moment that is Norris's transformation in The Thing. The Thing follows a group of researchers in Antarctica who must battle a shape-shifting alien organism that assimilates and imitates any living being it encounters, leading to paranoia and intense psychological tension. Most people are familiar with this scene, I think. In this sequence, Norris appears to suffer a heart attack, so Copper goes to defibrillate him when Norris's chest and stomach suddenly burst open, becoming a giant mouth that chomps down on Copper's arms. Norris then transforms into what can only be described as the epitome of nightmare fuel. I don't even fully know. Obviously, I'm gonna be showing the clip here, or have already showed the clip, because it's really hard to describe what happens to Norris and what he becomes. It doesn't really have a name other than terrifying. I know body horror, like as a concept, can encompass both the realistic and the fantastical, but when anybody starts talking about body horror moments, this scene is one of the first that pops into my head. Next up is a scene from a movie that had so many people divided when it came out, and that is Men. Men follows Harper, who retreats to the countryside to be alone in the wake of a tragedy, but her unease at the town's leering and uncannily similar men grows into a fully fledged nightmare as her arrival awakens something primal in the forest. So without describing like the entire movie, if anyone just happens to be watching and hasn't seen this movie and you're okay with the spoilers, we're at the end. Harper runs over Jeffrey trying to escape, and she crashes her car into a wall. So as she's running back into the house, she realizes the green man is now chasing her into the house. As he's doing this, he's transforming over and over again. So he becomes the boy that she sees in town, and the boy becomes the vicar, then the vicar becomes Jeffrey, and then Jeffrey becomes James. But it's not normal transformations. The men are like birthing each other from the other one's mouth. It's like how they're manifesting out. They're like literally like crawling their way out of the body of the other one. It's grotesque. It's horrifying. And honestly, it's an incredible depiction of how all toxic men, so similar, cut from the same cloth. Their shitty behavior just feeds this cycle over and over again. It's literally depicted in a scene that has stuck in my brain ever since I saw the movie. Hands down my favorite moment in the film. All right, so my second place body horror moment is from the Suspiria remake. Suspiria follows a young American dancer who joins a prestigious dance academy in Berlin, only to uncover dark and supernatural secrets lurking within its walls. This movie also has a number of different like iconic body horror moments, but what I described as like the hexed dance scene is the most stomach turning in my book. When Olga accuses Madame Blanc of being a witch, she storms out of the studio and tries to escape the school. She becomes trapped in a rehearsal room as the girls continue their practice. As they dance, the teachers channel the power to Olga in a horrifying dance of contortion. Her bones break, she's forcibly twisted into unnatural angles. She even wets herself in fear and in pain. I've never seen anything like that in a movie, and every time I watch it, it's like I want to look away because it's so horrifying and so scary, but I can't. And when I compare this remake to the original, like this scene really stands out. I love seeing a more tangible depiction that the women running the school are a coven of witches. It's less like a feeling and it's more literal. Like you get to see it in action and it's so scary. Finally, the ultimate body horror movie to me, because I don't have a particular scene in mind for this film. It's kind of just the entire film, and that is Tusk. Tusk follows a podcaster who becomes the victim of a twisted man's horrifying obsession as he is surgically transformed into a walrus. I don't know how you get more body horror than Tusk. It was like bad enough when Wallace's leg is amputated in the film and you realize Michael Parks' character is just fucking crazy and you don't know what's gonna happen. And every time I watch this movie, I just think about the first time I watched it and I had no fucking idea where the movie was gonna go. Somebody being transformed into this like walrus made out of human skin and bones was like the last thing on my list that I thought was gonna happen. I was gobsmacked the first time I saw this movie, and I love introducing people to this movie because it's like, it's almost too obvious too. Like when you think about the movie, you're like, there's no way that's gonna happen, and then it does. Like the reveal of Wallace as a walrus is easily like the most memorable body horror moment in horror for me. There are so many more body horror moments that I did not get to in this video, so please share your favorites in the comments. If you like this video, check out my deep dive of Huesera, the Bone Woman, which in its own right is a body horror movie, just a little bit more subtle. I will see you later this week with a Come With Me review for Immaculate. Until then, stay strange. Bye.